the harmonic gate is a human design term, and this human design term, it's about the channel. So the 17 is the harmonic gate of the 62. So when they come together, they form the channel of acceptance, and it links the ajna to the throat. And having this channel is a design of the organizational being. It's very business oriented and directed. It feels like an organizational. So the gates here, again, 62 and 17, it's a projected channel. So when you have this opinion and you have this way of expressing it, you can't just push it on somebody. Projected channel means it's like a projector channel. So waiting for that invitation, or knowing when that invitation comes for you to share those facts, those details, that opinion that you have, supported. The theme here is you have the mental ability to see the bigger picture without getting overwhelmed by the details. It's important to take time to look over the relevant facts and details. So don't just gather them, get overwhelmed. It's like, look through them and see, like, how does this support, how does it other, what is another perspective here, not getting so focused and pinned in on one thing. It's like a scientist is not a scientist until it's looked at all of the possible outcomes and experimented. It A scientist should actually be unbiased. When it becomes biased, it's pushing its agenda, it's pushing its theory, it's pushing its hypothesis, so that it can have these things to support it for some kind of like recognition, or like, oh, I did this, I figured this out. So a real scientist needs to be unbiased and not have an agenda, and so that it can experiment and take in all the possible outcomes, all the possibilities, and then be like, this is the truth, this is what supports this. Did you want to elaborate and go more into this, Bella?
Yeah, I feel when we speak about the channel, that's what's going to create in a individual's chart is what's going to create definition. So if you have this channel, you're going to have the ashna defined and the throat defined, and it's going to be a theme in your life. So we can look at those themes or those channels and even see that there is a frequency band for the whole channel. So here we have dismemberment. So this is like kind of cutting things in pieces. So instead of like seeing the organization or even the child, since we are speaking about the cancer, like seeing it as a whole, it's like picking things apart with the intellect, with the opinion, and there is no wholesomeness or wholeness with it. And then the higher frequency, we know that the 62 and the 17, it is the organizational being. So it's going to be, Ashley has the 17, I think, in her north node, and I have the 62. So when we come together, we organize things, and there is an output that comes out to the collective when we go and organize things. So it's a perfect example of how that 62 and the 17 work in the gift frequency. And then the highest expression of it. And I think that that's what we can feel like, maybe after we do a recording or something, we go back to life, and then we just see the 17 and the 62 like pop up everywhere, and then we feel somehow in us that, yeah, the universe is like, giving us, like telling us, giving us back that essence. So there is a sense of understanding, the sense of holism, that we are just a whole, and that is part of a bigger whole, and that's part of a bigger whole, and that's the hologenetic nature of the universe. And that's what when you have the 62 and the 17, especially in electromagnetic, that's how it can feel. It can feel like the other really understands you, and that together you see reality in a different way that you can't really do with other people.
Yeah, yeah. I love, so the keywords here are curiosity, patterns, and logic. That is, I'm all about that. Like curiosity, I get curious to look at the patterns, and I have to discover. I'm trying to find the pattern, and Bella's really good. I mean, Bella speaks a bajillion languages, and she's very like precise with the words that she's using because she realizes and knows that they carry a certain frequency. And even when we used to work with Tim, he has that in his attraction sphere, I believe, and he's very particular about words because words carry a frequency. So when we start to name something, we start to split it apart or dismember it. So are you bringing through the true essence of that thing with the word and what you're using, and that respects the thing, right? like if you're looking at a tree and you're describing it, instead of like feeling into the whole essence of the tree and who that tree is, if you were to go and to feel into the whole essence of a tree, it would be very hard for you to find a word to describe it. But when you get into your intellect, you're like, oh, it's brown, it has bark, it has this kind of fruit on it, it's this type and species, and then you begin to separate it from all the other trees. So when you are, what is your intention behind speaking and that language and bringing through those facts? And I think that when you focus on something, it expands. So for example, if you are fixated on this, on an opinion, then what's going to expand is all of these details to support that opinion. So it's going to be really hard for you to find anything else. Like Bella was saying, when we talk about the 62, it shows up in our life because we're connecting to its essence, and it's showing us more because we're putting our attention on it. And so it expands. But if you, what is your intention behind looking for the details? That's all you're going to be able to find, because you get into a kind of psychosis of, I'm just going to like pick these things out because it supports this. And it's hard to see anything else. It's very easy to get narrow-minded and narrow focused, which can happen in the 17. What are you trying to discover? If you're trying to discover like this one particular thing, you're going to be super narrow-minded and only look for that. And the facts and the details that the scientist collects will support what the discoverer wants to discover. What do you want to discover? And that's, they play together.